Very quickly also, we have political analyst Jide who joins us as we continue our live coverage of the state funeral. Mr. Ojo, good to have you join us at this time. Talk to us about the man, Muhammadu Buhari, that you know and the legacy you think is left behind and what you think people can learn from his life.
Thank you, Abosede. Muhammadu Buhari is a man I grew up to know in my teenage years in Ibadan when he was the military head of state between 1983 and 1985. That coincided with when I was in secondary school. And I recall the war against indiscipline, which he initiated, meant to instill discipline in the citizenry. I also remember the change in currency in 1984 as part of his fight against corruption then. Fast forward to, when he became the resilience he displayed in contesting for the presidency of Nigeria after his tour of duty, first as military administrator of Northeast Nigeria, then as head of state, then as chairman Petroleum Trust Fund, PTF, before he now decided to throw his heart into the ring to contest the presidency of Nigeria in 2003, 2007, 2011, and 2015, when he eventually won. I recall the mantra of stolen mandates when he lost the previous election, that his mandate was stolen. And he was so much of a Puritan that the initial two elections, 2003 and 2007, were contested under the AMPP, All Nigerian People's Party. But in after 2007 failure, he decided to establish Congress for Progressive Change, CPC, which he also led to electoral defeat in 2011. But due to his resilience, he was able to win the 2015 presidential election. So 4 times contest before victory eventually smiled on him. And I believe I see him in the mold of former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Obasanjo left power in 1979 and became the president, left as head of state in 1979 and became head of state and became president in 2019. Buhari left as head of state in 1985 and became president in 2015, a period of 30 years, which shows that, in as long as you are alive, you can still realize your ambition. But more importantly for me are his numerous achievements in public service. Someone like him should never have been in want of resources. But I recall that when he contested the 2015 presidential election under the All Progressive Congress, he lamented that 27.5 million naira was too much for nomination and expression of interest fee, and that he could not raise the money without having to take overdraft, that he had to take overdraft to be able to pay for his nomination fee. This was a man who was former head of state, former chairman Petroleum Trust Fund, former military administrator. And people like him will have amassed so much wealth that they will have been in the class of billionaires. But not Buhari. He was so prudent, he was so austere with his lifestyle, very simple, gentleman, soldier, and statesman. Then when you look at the numerous achievements in public service, to his credit stood a number of innovations. Let me take it from legislation. It was the one that gave the Nigerian persons with disability community the National Disability Act in 2019, January 23, 2019. For the first time, he signed into law the National Disability Act, or what is otherwise called Prohibition of Discrimination Against Persons with Disability. That was one. Which catered. Today we have the National Commission for Persons with Disability and all manner of innovation that brought about inclusion, political and social inclusion of persons with disability. That was one. That bill was signed after 18 years of advocacy and two previous attempts where the previous president did not sign. Then he gave us the Petroleum Industry Bill, which also was like an abiku. It was the one that made it happen in 2018, I guess. He signed that into law. Then we also have the Electoral Act 2022. It was him that also gave us that new Electoral Act, as well as two constitutional alterations. Part of his constitutional alterations was the devolution of power from exclusive legislative list to concurrent legislative list. He also sought to, a number of anti-corruption initiatives, like the whistleblower policy was his brainchild, the introduction of BVN, that's bank verification number, the NIPPS, and all of that were part of the things he saw. Whether he was the initiator, but he may not have been the initiator, but he actually implemented some of these anti-corruption initiatives. Then when you look at critical infrastructure, look at the way he revived our railway. Today I'm speaking with you from Abuja. You can travel to Kaduna by the standard gauge railway system, which Buhari completed. He completed the second Niger Bridge, which was abandoned for many decades. He was also the one that sought to it that a number of times, a number of agriculture, the livestock transformation plan, which was meant to tackle issue around elders farmers clashes, and then brought about what is called ranching in the livestock sector. It was his brainchild that sought to livestock transformation plan. He also brought about the Anchor Borrowers Program, where over 1 trillion naira was given to a soft loan to farmers to plant different crops to boost food security. We recall that in Abuja we have a rice pyramid at some point. Of course, people can say, okay, it was more of a boo-boo and that a lot of that money went into drain, but at least it was his initiative. He also saw to it that quite a number of other innovations were brought into governance system. He didn't have a bloated cabinet. He had a very modest cabinet, and he saw to it that he leads by example. Of course, his health did not allow him full benefits. It did not allow us to get full benefit of him because he was in and out of hospital for the better part of his presidency. At some point, he was away for 6 months and had to, Professor Yemi Osinbajo had to be sworn in acting capacity. That was around 2017. The economy went into recession under him, but also rebounded. We also remember the change of currency, Naira redesign, which again backfired because it came on the eve of election. But the initial intention of that Naira redesign was to checkmate abuse of money during the electoral process and to make Nigerians to embrace cashless policy, which today, even many years after the Supreme Court decided that the old and the new currency should continue to circulate, many of us, of our own accord, have now embraced cashless policy. And there are many of us who you will not find more than 500 naira or 1,000 naira on, but we use our debit card, we do transaction on our phones, and that is one of the things he propagated. Unfortunately, the linchpin of that initiative, Emefiele, is answering corruption charges which is a minus to his administration.
All right, Mr. Ojo, we can go on and on about the life and times of former President Muhammadu Buhari. We'll get back to you, for more on that in a moment. But very quickly, let's return to the